But let's start, Bull. Obviously, Guardians, Yankees. Before I say anything, I'm anxious to hear your thoughts on the 4-1 defeat in Game 1.
Listen, it's obviously disappointing, even though you go into it knowing that the Yankees should win the first game. But what we talked about, in fact, I had to listen to the first 2 innings on the radio, which is a pleasure because you get to listen to Tom Hamilton. And Tom Hamilton, when the Guardians loaded the bases with 1 out after Kwan's homer, and then Guardians, so I actually,
that was the third.
The top of the third. I went into my house. I was sitting in my driveway because I didn't want to, even though I was DVRing the game.
You don't want to screw with the juju.
Right, exactly. So I was waiting till after the top of the third, and then I walked in my house.
Right.
So Tom Hamilton says, and he's 100% right, he goes, when you have a pitcher like Garrett Cole, he's not going to give you a lot of opportunities.
Right.
When he does, you have to take advantage. And think about this. They load the base. They get second. First of all, you're not going to see this on the stats if you weren't listening or watching the game. Because I went back and looked at it after I got back in the house. When Ramirez hits the double in that inning after the Quan homer and the hit by pitch to Rosario, Harrison Bader makes a great running play to prevent the ball from getting to the wall. If it gets to the wall, Rosario scores and Ramirez has a triple.
Ramirez is on third. And the inning unfolds completely differently.
Who knows what would have happened, right? And instead, it's second and third, and they end up not scoring. What's weird is they got a big break on the next play because Naylor hits it to Rizzo. Rizzo went home too fast. Rosario Smart goes back to third. So it's bases loaded, 1 out. You got a great opportunity. But like much of the night, Oscar Gonzalez had a rough night last night.
Yes,
and he couldn't come through. And you think about this. Garrett Cole, who was already at 60 pitches or whatever, around 60.
At 3.
Was from the moment that Naylor reached on the fielder's choice till he left, the only 2 base runners were Jose Ramirez walk, which I thought was basically intentional. Because it was 2 out, nobody on. I thought he didn't want anything to do with him there.
Right.
And then Straw gets the single off the glove. I would have left Cole in if I were the Yankees there because their pen stinks. But he locked it down.
He retired 12 of the final 14.
And that was it.
And you're so right about the Harrison Bader play. And I wanted to point out, too, the Yankees are the kind of team that when they see that they have a deficit at the break before the trade deadline, they're going to go out and address it.
Yeah.
They went out and got Harrison Bader. And I think a lot of people at the time were like, that's a nice pickup.
Yeah.
No, that's a great pickup.
Great defensive
For the very reason we saw last night, and I'm so glad you brought that up because I thought that was the turning point in the game.
It's huge.
I really did.
Yeah.
Because to your point, if he doesn't cut that ball off, it's already 2-1. The air goes out of the stadium because he just bounced back with the solo home run that Bader hit to tie the game.
No, Bader hit it at the bottom of the third.
Bader hit it. Yeah, you're right. It was 1-0
They would have been up 2-0.
Yeah. You're right.
Instead, the Bader homer completely
pushed
the Yankees
that's
back
at that
in
point.
control.
I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And I was, as I was watching it, I kept saying, okay, so I know one thing's going to happen. Garrett Cole is going to turn into Garrett Cole, and he did after that.
Right.
After he got out of that inning, the couple notes that I made. One was the Bader play in center field. I thought that was the turning point. I also wanted to emphasize that in no other sports world can you go from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows other than playoff baseball?
Yeah.
And Oscar Gonzalez with the walk-off home run had eternally cemented his name and his status in Cleveland sports fans' minds. I don't want to beat him up too much because that is a difficult play to make. Into that
and he
corner
just
in
made
right
a good
field.
play to play before.
He just made a great play.
Which messed me up because I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
where if it hit the top.
If it hit the top and went in, it's a home run.
I thought if one of the fans had touched it, it would have been double.
I thought if it hit, like that's a home run. He came back, catches it, and guns him at first. I was like,
I thought it was a home run at first.
That's what I thought.
And then you see the replay.
I said that's gone.
Yeah. And then the replay, you're like, oh wait, that's not. And Donaldson bad job at him. But I'm curious, Tyvis, as you jumped in here because Jay and I are baseball nerds with diehard guys. But as a more casual baseball guy, Did you like? He and I are like,
yeah, y'all,
it's okay,
y'all
it's
like,
okay.
y'all like me with football.
Are you panicking?
Right.
Are you panicking?
No, I'm not panicking.
Okay.
You know, I understand that the Yankees is historically a good team, but I think that the Guardians team is a great team and they have a chance to get it done. They showed that they can get on base and they just have to find a way to hit them in, which is easier said than done. But I just
It's better than not. It's better than what they did against the Rays.
That's what I'm saying. Like they was able to get on. So it tells me that they're not afraid of the moment and they have what it takes. The only thing that I wonder, which is I wanted to ask y'all, is that I seen on Twitter that they were saying that they should have retired the pitcher after the third.
Quantrill.
After the third.
Before his third time around the line.
Do y'all agree with that?
No, that's hindsight.
I was fine with it.
That's the benefit of the results.
Especially because he was pitching so well to that point.
Yeah.
And I get it generally. And by the way, I bet a lot of the people complaining about it are the same people that complain about analytics. Because analytics says, take him out there.
Right.
But Francona, who uses analytics, contrary to popular belief, but also uses his gut.
He
in
has
that
a
case,
great
he used
blend
his
of
gut.
that. Yeah.
Yes.
And I thought that was the right call. I mean, anybody can armchair quarterback it now and say, oh, he gave up the home run. Look, Aaron Judge did not hurt the Guardians.
He did not.
What the Yankees proved last night is they have so much depth up and down there. It's funny when you look, and this is the shift in baseball now. If they just show you the batting averages of both teams, you're like, the Guardians are going to win this series running away. Yeah. They've got guys hitting 211, 220, 215. What analytics and where baseball is now is they would rather have a guy hit 220 with 35 home runs than 260 and 15 home runs.
Right.
And the Guardians have a lot of guys in that latter category.
Right.
They put the ball in play more than any team in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
They strike out the fewest rate in baseball. They also hit the 29th most home runs.
Right.
So last night, analytics won. 86% of the time, the team that hits the most home runs in a postseason game wins that game.
Right.
Then now the Guardians obviously won their first series that way, 2-1.
Right.
Last night they got out homered 2-1, and they lost. So the Yankees have built their team on this premise. We don't need, and if you think about it, and this is fascinating. It's a fascinating way to think about it. When I tell you 280 average, compare it to a 215 average. What do you think?
A huge difference.
But in reality,
I would say
that's
same.
Depends on the player.
success rate. But the success rate is 28% to 22%.
Right. It's not as big as you might think.
It's not as big as we in our minds have made it out to be.
And the thing is, like, sometimes you give your opponent credit, right? The Guardians couldn't come through. They were 0 for 8 runners in scoring position, 0 for 12 in the playoffs.
That's what killed them.
Again, it's amazing that the Guardians only had 4 at-bats in the first 2 games against
with
the
runners
Rays,
in scoring position. And
Didn't
they won
get a
the
single
series
hit
as
and
well.
won the series. It's absurd. They are, and this is what's got to change, obviously. The Guardians right now are offensively the complete opposite of what they've been all year.
You're right.
They're striking out. They're not hitting in the clutch. And all their runs have been homers.
Yeah.
That's not how they win games.
Nope. And you've got to stay true to
that
who you
quick.
are. And Terry knows that.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad at moments like this that we have Terry Francona at the helm. I'll guarantee you if he said anything at all to the team, because he doesn't really need to.
Nope.
But his message would be this: we're fine.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
We came to New York to split.
That's right.
Look, if you win 2, you're in a great position. But the business trip was the objective of the business trip. Let's come back 1-1.
If
Let's
you look
get
at
2 in our building, then it's in your control.
Yeah.
Guys, if you looked at the body language, I don't know if anybody paid attention to it, but I did. If you look at the body language during the game of Francona and Aaron Boone.
Aaron Boone was chewing his nails.
Chewing his nails.
He was a mess.
He looked like he was ready to crap his pants.
You know why?
Francona's just like,
That's the difference between.
he's like me sitting in a chair.
You know what it is?
He was.
Go to Vegas. Go to Vegas and watch the dude in the $10,000 suit play blackjack.
Yeah.
And then watch the guy with the steel toe boots, the hat on backwards, and a pack of smokes in his front pocket.
Yeah.
That dude is playing each hand like Aaron Boone.
Yeah.
The guy with the $10,000 suit is Terry Francona.
Yeah. He's like,
House money, baby.
Well, the two
It's all
things,
good.
the two things else is, one, I wanted to shout out Stephen Kwan. I seen that he had the highest average for a rookie since Larry Doby.
highest
that
Guardians.
was very
amazing
impressive.
stat.
And he was the one
Very
that came
impressive.
through.
Yeah.
And
a lot of other years would have won Rookie of the Year. Doesn't deserve it.
No, I
Had
know.
a great season.
You're right.
Doesn't deserve it this
And
year.
then
But
the Jose
deserves to be in the conversation,
Absolutely.
and he is, but he won't win
the
it. and he
Jose
should.
Ramirez play where so they hit it to him and he dropped it. He turned it into a double.
Yeah,
Do
I'm
you
not
think
sure.
was You don't think it was in purpose?
I don't think so.
I don't think it was either.
It worked out great.
It turned out to be great.
Yeah. It turned out beautifully, but there's no way he could have known that the runner was staying at first base. There's no way he could have known that.
That's true.
Bang, bang.
Yes.
It hit the palm of his glove and came out. But he's so good and so in every spot that he gets in. You never see Jose make the wrong play.
No.
He was able to gather himself.
No panic.
Easily make the double play.
Yeah.
Great job out of him. I thought in general, I thought that Quantrill did what I thought he would do. Everybody got consumed by the fact that he was 15-5, but he had the most run support of any starter in baseball. He was averaged 6 runs a start. Hell, you better be 15-5 if you're given 6 runs of support.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take anything away from him. I just thought that he did exactly what I expected him to do. He made 3 mistake pitches. 2 of them were home runs. 1 of them went off the top of the wall. Other than that, I mean, the other run that they had was a goof.
Well,
they shouldn't have had that.
And by the way, Austin Hedges, you got to throw Judge out there. A good throw and he's out.
I know.
I mean, he's only playing for his defense. And listen, I've been off him the last couple of months.
You have.
Because he does run that pitching staff great.
That's what's the problem.
But he's got to make that throw.
In defense,
you got to get back on him, boy. He was at his best when you was all on him.
Yeah. So get on him and he'll hit a home run tomorrow night.
I'm about to say we get a home run.
Aaron Judge is 16 of 18 on stolen bases.
Yeah.
People think that, he's just a lumberjack that can hit home runs. Aaron Judge does everything well.
He's great.
And he's not fast, but he tends to get a good jump.
He's sneaky fast, though.
He's sneaky fast because he's so long.
But if you look at
I'm about
it,
to say,
I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying. However, if you look at it,
you got to
good throw, you got him.
Yeah, and
a good throw, you got him.
Normally,
he makes good throws.
he makes the throw.
And that was
he makes the
unfortunate.
Hey, can I ask you guys a question on that real quick?
Sure.
So Hedges, obviously, this is his first postseason experience.
The moment
they
got
played
to him.
the Rays in the wild card series, but this is their first postseason run.
Right.
How much does the lack of playoff experience affect these guys, especially in a setting like New York in front of a raucous crowd like that? Do you think it has any effect whatsoever?
I don't think so. I think it's coincidence that they had some sloppy moments. I mean, you never know for sure.
Right.
There are players that can be intimidated by playing at Yankee Stadium, which is why it's important to try to keep it quiet, keep them quiet. And had they scored a few runs, it probably would have loosened them up even more. I don't think there's panic from this team.
Right.
I think this team plays young and loose. Their manager doesn't panic. Their star player doesn't panic. I don't think they panic at all.
I agree with that. I don't think they did. One thing I wanted to point out, too, which I thought I was waiting to read the papers this morning for one main reason. I wanted to see how Miles Straw and Stephen Kwan responded to reporter questions about all the grief that they were getting from Yankee Stadium. Because if you're not following this, in April, in an early season road trip when they were there was an incident where Stephen Kwan got hurt. The bleacher creatures were yelling some things at Kwan, and they were throwing things.
Yeah.
And Miles Straw didn't like it. He climbed the fence.
Yes, he did.
He was right in. So obviously, everyone knew that they were going to get on Kwan and Straw. They were booed every time they came to the plate. That's why I loved the fact that Kwan hit the home run right into the bleacher creatures. I thought that was perfect. I knew both would be asked about it. My hope was that Terry would have pulled them aside even before the series started and said, look, you guys are going to be asked questions about the Yankee fan base.
Don't egg them on.
This can go one of 2 ways. You can egg them on and call them jerks and idiots and unsportsmanlike, which is true, but you just feed the beast when you do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
What you need to do is kill them with kindness, and that's exactly what both of them did, and I was so glad to read that this morning. Kwan said it was kind of cool. You know you've reached a certain status level.
That's true.
When that crowd hates you that much.
That's a good point.
It's exactly what Chipper Jones used to say when, for years, they would call him Larry and Chance when he would come to the Mets.
Yeah.
And Chipper said, I'm doing something right
New York
because one of the
fans are tough.
toughest crowd bases in sports knows that I've got to be pushed down.
I know that baseball is different than football, but I've never let a crowd affect me in any way.
Yeah, but remember, look at it this way. You've never been the focus of all eyes in the stadium.
I guess
baseball,
that's true.
when you walk into that batter's box, you feel the karma around you, whatever it is, good or bad.
Right.
And I knew that they were going to be booed. And by the way, Kwan is in left field, so he doesn't have to deal with that crew anymore, but Miles Straw does. Miles Straw heard it. I'm sure Oscar Gonzalez heard it.
Yep.
And I was just glad that they took the mature and the high road
Smart
and
move.
said, hey, they're a great fan base, it's kind of a badge of honor that they hate me that much.
Yeah,
That's true.
That means I'm doing something
That
right.
is very true.
I do want to talk about my one beef with Francona last night, guys, was I can't understand why in the top of the 7th inning, so the Yankees just had the lead. And again, the Yankees deserve credit. There was Quantrill left it hanging to Rizzo. He doesn't miss hangers.
No.
You knew he was going to. As soon as I saw
By the
that
way,
pitch, I
that
said,
was a
oh, my God.
shot.
He crushed it. So it's 4-1. You're coming up in the 7th, okay? It's desperate time in that game. I know the Guardians bench is not very good. We all know that.
Yeah.
But I can't let Hedges hit to start off the 7th down 3 runs.
No.
I didn't understand that.
I thought about that especially. He's
Right.
carrying 3 catchers.
3 catchers, so it's
you
a no-brainer.
carry 3 catchers specifically
Yes.
so you can pinch hit
Right.
for your offensively deficient catcher.
Yes, I didn't
And he
understand
did do
that.
it. I also, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Hindsight, yes, I
Yeah.
would have done it. By the way, he hit the ball hard as hell there. He hit the ball down the third baseline, and
Yankees
Donaldson
made all the plays
made
in the
a
field.
great play, but he
Yeah.
almost had a double.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
here's Tito. Tito is the kind of guy, he's not one to quickly roll on a guy. He's
Right.
not one
But he has pinch hit for him at the end of games a
he
lot
has,
of times.
And I think if you get into a situation where it's a 2-2 tie and it's the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning and Hedges comes up, he's out.
Yeah.
He's done.
Certainly.
So I agree with you.
And he did pinch hit for him in the 9th inning.
No, he pinch hit for. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He pinch hit for him the
Yeah.
9th. I thought the move that he made the mistake on was not pinch hitting for Naylor, who looked particularly bad against the curveball and slider against Garrett Cole. He was the guy that I thought was pressing too hard at the plate was Naylor.
I
He
get what
swung
you're
and missed
saying,
a lot.
and he's been bad against lefties, and they
That's
had
why I
Wandy
would have
Peralta
pulled him.
in.
His
But-
average against lefties, and by the way, not just his average, the lefty that they brought in kills lefties.
Yes,
kills them.
the only reason I would have stuck with him there is because I think about that playoff series he had against the Yankees,
Right.
Naylor, and he's the type of guy that if he can get into one and hit a home run, like he goes
I agree.
bananas, the whole
Especially
team
with the
gets
short
fired
porch
up.
there to right field.
And because I don't have a great option on the bench, I would have stuck with him. But
Yeah.
there's certainly an argument there. I mean, there's an argument on taking Quantrill out. You and I both think he did the right thing.
I think he did.
There's an argument on, in every game. In the playoffs, we dissect the games more than you do in the
That's
regular
why I
season.
love playoff baseball so
Yeah.
much. In the regular season, that was a ho-hum game.
Yeah.
Yankees won. It's never given any talk.
Right.
It's, it is. Yeah, they didn't get it done in the clutch
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. But we're parsing pitch selection. We're
Yeah.
parsing Gonzalez misplaying that ball in the corner,
Yeah.
which a lot of guys have done. That's a
Yeah.
tough spot.
It is. It's
the
a
fans
tricky-
are right on top of
And
you.
there's not a lot of
You got
room
this
there.
Much space.
Yeah, it's a weird
It's like,
space there.
All in all, though, I'm glad that we're in agreement. All in all, I think that they're not happy about it. They
No.
would have loved to have had the win, but I think there's zero panic. Before we move on, we're going to talk about the Browns offense against the Patriots, or the Browns defense against the Patriots offense in a second. There's one thing that's really bothering me today, and I got to get this off my chest. And I understand why they're doing it. They're trying to get the Dodgers in primetime. But it is supposed to be 68 degrees and sunny in New York today. They're having the weather today that we had yesterday.
Yeah,
The Guardians and the Yankees have the day off.
I know.
They have the day off because last night the Dodgers game was at 9:30. They didn't want 2 Dodger games to be late in the primetime window for East Coasters.
Right.
So tonight, number 1 market, New York, gets the night off because they don't want them to go head-to-head in the TV.
Right.
The Dodgers get the primetime slot, 8 o'clock start tonight on the East Coast. The problem with that is it's 100% chance rain tomorrow.
Yeah.
And here's what that does.
Right.
It pushes game 2, and a decision may actually be made today on whether or not they're going to move that game. Likely it'll come tomorrow. But either way, if game 2 is pushed from Friday to Saturday, that really hampers the Guardians, because then you have game 2 Saturday, fly back home after the game, play game 3.
Game 2 Friday.
Game 2 Friday.
Right.
Game 3 Saturday.
Yeah.
Game 4, if needed, Sunday. Game 5, if needed,
Right.
Monday.
Yes.
So 3 flights and 4 games in 4 days, and that means Bieber will not get 2 starts in the series.
Yeah, the Yankees would have the flights too.
Absolutely.
but
They have the flights.
But
they have the flights too.
There's 2 reasons why that's a disadvantage for the Guardians. One you already mentioned, that's Shane Bieber.
Right.
Now, I don't know that they would use him on 3 days rest in game
I don't
5,
either.
but at least you'd have the option, which you will not if the game gets pushed back. The other thing, and I think this is something that's under the radar, What is the Guardians' advantage in this series? Their big advantage. The bullpen.
Yeah.
Well, the more games that are back-to-back-to-back, the lesser, even if it's a little bit, that advantage is. Because if you have to use Clase and Karinchak in games 2 and 3, well, there's a decent chance they'll be at least a little less effective in 4 and 5.
You're right.
And because the Guardians have that big advantage, it closes the gap on that advantage. Because the Yankees don't have a set guy, so they can use anybody because they kind of trust all their guys. They don't trust any of their guys that much, except for maybe Peralta.
They were great last night, though.
But they did a good job last night. I give him credit. Losaiga did a good job. After he got in trouble, he got out of that inning with the double play.
It was fascinating, too, watching the difference in how the two managers use their bullpen.
Yeah.
Tito's a guy who has a 7th-inning guy,
yes,
an 8th-inning guy, a 9th-inning guy, and that's that.
So if
Aaron Boone is a matchup guy. He wants lefty on lefty, righty on righty.
Right.
He'll make the moves based on the situation in the game.
But he wasn't always that. I think it's become a necessity because he doesn't have a closer.
True.
He really doesn't.
And he doesn't have much of a setup guy.
No, I mean they don't really have one guy that you completely trust.
I feel that Shane Bieber is going to pitch a wonderful game.
I agree.
He's going to hand it over to the bullpen. The only question mark to me is, will the Guardians, I keep calling them that, and I'm sorry, will they be able to get to Cortez? Cortez has had a great year.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But if they
He's actually pitched better than Cole this year. But obviously Bieber's a lot better than Quantrill. And they need him to lock it down. But ultimately, as good as the Guardians pitching has been, and I think will continue to be, if they don't start getting back to the hitting club they've been all year, they're going to lose.
It's over.
Yeah.
And here you got Aaron Judge stealing a base.
I hope it don't.
Right.
And hey, wait, that's what we do.
Right.
That's our thing.
We got to string together hits.
We do.
Get that clutch hit. He had a lot of opportunity. A lot maybe strong, but he had a few opportunities last night, and the Guardians cannot come through with a clutch hit.
All they got to do is get me, man. Just
let's do it.
They
got to turn it around.
Add you to the playoff roster.
Y'all know what I do.
Ground ball to short. Or you may swing and let go of the bat.
Listen. First of all, I did not do that. My first hit, I'm only good for one hit. My first hit was a perfectly good line drive.
I can't attest. There was a nice.
How hard was that pitch?
Thank you.
How hard?